I don't speak bear.
Boy, if you don't...
I have to be completely honest, I didn't know if I was really going to like Prey, but I had a feeling I was going to. After I watched the Predators movie that had mixed reviews, and from some of you said that you either liked it or really hated it, I figured that it would be a toss-up whether or not I would like this. But judging from the fact that I liked that movie, and it had the same atmosphere as this one, I had a good feeling that I was gonna like this one. I also had high hopes because it was directed by Dan Trachtenberg, which is the same guy who did 10 Cloverfield Lane and the series premiere of The Boys. He's got the cinematic horror creepy vibe down, although I wouldn't call it creepy, I'd call it more of like sci-fi thriller, so I trust his instincts. The movie takes place in 1719, and it follows the main character, a young Comanche woman named Naru. Oh, I wish somebody would wake me up like that, would send their foot sailing right back in their own mouth. She and her dog Sadie go out to do their regular chores. She's trained as a healer, but her ultimate goal in life is to become a great hunter, just like her warrior brother Taabe. We get a segment of her hunting deer with her dog that's very reminiscent of the I Am Legend scene with Will Smith hunting with his dog, and she doesn't exactly get it. She's obviously very green as a hunter, but during that time, she sees something overhead, something scary, something, well, ominous. And she realizes it's coming from the clouds. She thinks of it as some kind of sign, because I imagine people back then, that's exactly how they would feel it. She thinks that it's the arrival of a thunderbird in the sky, whatever that is. But we know that it is the spaceship that is dropping off the predator so that he can go and kill whatever he needs to kill. She takes it as a sign that she is ready for her hunt, and she basically tells her brother that. He doesn't think that she's ready, but she's like, I'm ready, the typical annoying baby sister stuff. I noticed with this movie, just saying, you know, because just half of the Native American people there don't look like Native Americans. Like, they do, but they don't. You know what I'm saying? Like, they look like her, she doesn't. But whatever, doesn't really matter. I guess they're like, look.
Close enough.
Anyways, her mother says that she is kind of hard to train, and I'm guessing her mom, this is kind of like a Brave Mulan type of situation, so I understand why people were likening onto that. Her mom wants her to be happy, but her mom is also real, and she's like, okay, just go get this stuff for the healing. She probably thinks this is a phase that her daughter is gonna grow out of. But anyway, her brother obliges and allows her to come in a hunting party. Apparently a lion took one of their people. That's the other thing about this movie. The animals in this movie, forget what you know about how animals behave in the wild, you know, running away from humans and just being aggressive when they need to be. Every single animal in this movie is hyper aggressive except for the dog. Like, just things that just don't make sense for the animal to do, they do. I get it, it's a movie, but it's so unreal. At this point, it would have been really interesting if they had made the animals act a certain way because they were deathly afraid or they felt really threatened, but nope, that's just, you'll see what I'm talking about as the movie progresses. It's kind of ridiculous. The hunting party goes after the mountain lion, and there is a scene where we can see something is invisible and it's lying on the ground, and the ant is crawling up it, and honestly, the cinematic aesthetics of this movie are done very well. It's what helps me feel immersed in this. They do a good job, especially in the beginning, of making the predator feel scary, and the predator seems to only kill other predators. Anyway, they end up finding the guy, and they're like, why would the lion drag him so far away? The girl, Naru, she's recognizing certain things that don't make sense, like a lot of stuff in this movie. They quickly build something while she puts some healing salve on him to carry him back home. He would have been home by this time already, but whatever. So she stays with him, and the rest of the search party, they kind of split up, and they decide to go after the mountain lion because, you know, mountain lion messed with the wrong one. You take one of ours, we take you and your children. It is weird to Naru, though, that the mountain lion would have left the human there. Apparently, in their universe, mountain lions just randomly attack people for no reason and then eat them because there's nothing else around to eat, I guess. She sees where the predator had skinned a snake, and she's like, what could skin a snake like that? And I'm thinking, really? None of your people discovered skinning snakes? I mean, maybe someone just did it wrong, but why is that such a novel thing? But oh well, anyway. Of course, the boys are always jeering Naru because, you know, she's a girl and whatnot.
It won't matter how sharp it is if you're too afraid to use it. You think you're ready? You've never faced a lion.
Down with misogyny!
Shut up, bitch. Shut the fuck up.
The mountain lion ends up attacking one of them when she's in the tree, which was her idea. Again, like I said, the animals in this movie act not like real animals. They act like they were alien species who were imposters and dropped here to pretend to be the animals. The lion is just up there just coming after these people, just killing them all randomly. No cubs or anything. Let's just... You know, even the Revenant made more sense because at least that was a mama bear. You could understand it. Naru falls after she loses her balance off the tree and hits her head. And even though the mountain lion killed everybody else unprovoked, it just leaves her there. Or maybe her brother came back and carried her back to the village. So of course, this feels like a failure to her. She knows there's something else out there and her brother had to carry her back. This is a big hit to her ego. Meanwhile, Tabe gets all the praise because he carries back the mountain lion on one shoulder and its head in the other hand. And he just looks so happy and people are celebrating him. And I don't know, he seems to have a lot more humility than his sister, even though he's a badass warrior. She just seems to want to be respected, like, I want to hunt so people see me and take me seriously. She's kind of annoying, I'm not gonna lie. But Naru is very smart. The brother was trying to be nice, but she was acting all weird. So he's like, you know what, you're just not ready. And she gets super offended. So the next morning, she's like, I'll make them see. I'll make them see. And she leaves in secret again to hunt with her dog, Sadi. This is another part that's just freaking annoying. A coyote dog. Okay, it's clearly a dog. It's not a... Well, whatever. It's supposed to be like a wolf or coyote or something. And it's chasing this rabbit, just trying to get his freaking food. Or hare. It's a hare. And the predator just knocks it away. And the creature doesn't see what it is. Okay? And it's like, oh, let me attack you. Which, okay, you're understandable. First bite, you're understandable. The dog knows there's someone there. This big-ass alien looking thing. A regular coyote or whatever animal this is supposed to be would have been like, you know what? I am so sorry. You're right. This isn't my food. This is your food. What was I thinking? I am so sorry. You know what? There's some dog pussy over there. Let me go over there and just, sorry, misunderstanding. But instead, this dog is like, let me fight this thing and die on this fucking hill, even though the food is not around. And I'm like, what? Why did they do this so they could justify killing the poor animal? It's so stupid. It's so stupid. Like, did they just track like the one mutant animal that has a degraded brain? Degraded? I don't care. Whatever word that is. There's no intelligence left there anymore. There's no need to preserve their life. You know? But Naru's chasing a rabbit too and trying to hunt it, but she's fine. You know, it's been tracking the humans, this predator. But she's okay. But the other humans doing exactly the same thing or not. I don't get it. I do not get it. Anyway, she's still in her adventure with Sadi to go and track down the, I forgot the name that they have for it, but it's basically something to be initiated or to be considered a hunter. You have to kill something or hunt something that is hunting you. The predator, meanwhile, is making his preparations for hunting. As Naru is going on her adventure to find the thing that can hunt you, she finds an entire field of skinned bison. The meat's just sitting there to be rotted, like there's no birds around, which is very unrealistic. There would have been a horde of birds or ravens or something around eating this smorgasbord of carcasses in the field. And we obviously know it's other humans, Americans, or somebody who did it. You know, the white men, as they call it. I remember I was taught in school in history that, yeah, you know, they killed all the bison and drove them near to extinction to starve out the Native Americans, and they wasted the meat because they just skinned it or took the horns and just left the rest to rot, which was, it's a shame. Like, who does that? And you see, like, it's a lot of bison. Naru finds herself in a sticky situation while she's going through the woods and tracking something and ends up falling in quicksand. Meanwhile, the predator is right behind her and is now arriving in the field of dead bison. It now knows that something did this. She's like, ooh, this is a worthy opponent. This thing's like me. Naru manages to use her axe by putting a little rope, or using the little rope that she had on it to throw the axe. How convenient, right? And basically pull herself out of there. Sadi comes back with a mouse meal, and then eventually they find their quarry. They find a grown grizzly bear feeding on something. The bear is already feeding on something, so I don't understand why the bear would then stop eating what it's eating to charge after something, and not just charge, give chase after it. She is upwind, and so it smells her, and it's like, what the frick is that? Which is so stupid, because a bear is not prey. If it smells another predator, it'd be like, okay, I'm gonna keep eating just in case this thing wants to come after my food. food. And then it's like, then she does this weird thing where her arrow breaks, and then sometimes I don't get the characters. I don't get the bear. I don't get why are all the animals freaking Minecraft mobs? I don't understand. And the only reason I was able to even enjoy this movie as much as I did with the dog being in there is because I looked ahead of time like I always do to make sure the dog didn't die. Dog doesn't die, thank God. Whew, that would have ruined it for me. I don't think I would have watched it if that were the case. Yeah, it would have made a big difference. The dog is safe. The dog is untouchable, okay? We're not here to kill off dogs in movies. Stop. So anyway, Sade chases or uses herself to have the bear chase her to save Naru. It comes back, and Naru's just staring at the dog running away. The dog is running away, and as my partner said, you should be going in the direction the dog is going. This was honestly such a good scene with the bear chasing her. I felt it. Even though I felt as though the trailer did a better job with the music and the tension, and I can tell it was shot a bit differently. Naru is like, oh crap, I might die here, and then the bear ends up fighting something, and it's actually kicking the thing's ass. But not long after, the thing attacks the bear, like one punch mans it, and breaks its freaking neck, and then hauls it in the air. And as the blood is dripping down on it, Naru is like, oh no. Okay, so, that's freaky? I'm honestly wondering why the people in this movie are not as afraid of this as they should be. You know, the terror that the people in the first movie and the third movie kind of felt, that was more realistic than what we see in the second Predator and in this movie. I mean, there were things like Naru saw this and she's like, oh my God. But I can forgive it in this movie because I do know that in Native American culture, they are very superstitious. So, you know, if they see something, they're like, oh crap, it's that demon thing from our mythology thing. I actually saw it. But still, there's a difference between hearing it in stories and actually seeing it. Unless everybody's high constantly and is always seeing shit like this. So it's like, oh wow, look, it's one of those things. Another SCP shit. Yeah, guess it's Tuesday. Gotta get back to the village, you know? But nobody seems really overly scared or great at playing fear as they should be. As she's on her way back, she sees some of her brother's friends. I don't know why they wrote them like this. I mean, I guess that would happen. I don't know. I haven't been in the culture. But they're constantly making, like, misogynistic jabs at her. I mean, they're really laying it on thick a bit, which feels as though, like, oh, would they do that? Or would they not do that? I don't know. So maybe it's believable. And it's not even really misogynistic. It's like, okay, I guess in our society, the way that people view things now, they would think of it like that. But it's their culture. It was the norm for women to have a role and men to have a role. I mean, everybody was fine and organized that way, but she's just the odd one out that's like, no, I don't want to cook. I don't want to clean. I want to hunt with you guys. And they're like, why? If it's not broke, don't fix it. You know, we have muscles. You know, we're smart. We can hunt. We're experienced. We're stronger. And we're gonna be having to watch your ass while you're out here, which is like, you know, why is that necessary? But she wants the respect that her brother has because, you know, I guess you see your brother doing everything he sleeps in, and I completely understand because in my culture, it's kind of the same thing. We were supposed to wake up and fix breakfast for the men. That's just how it is in my culture. When we make dinner, the men get served first, we get served last. And it's usually like that in any situation, like if you have guests over or family, whoever the cook is, you are the one who eats last. You make sure everybody is handled first. That's just the way things are. I mean, the man works all these hours and comes home. I mean, the least you could do is serve him his food first, you know what I'm saying? But there are some people that have like a personal issue with that. I just don't get why. But anyway, in this situation, I could see how she's like the Mulan. She's like, I'm not like anybody else. I don't do that shit. And like, I could get it. You'd be sick and tired of doing the same thing over and over again. Anyway, there's a fight that goes on and she kicks these guys' asses. And I really think that if they really wanted to hurt her or kill her, they would have done so quite easily. She is the warrior guy's Tabe's sister, so they don't want to do too much. They let her get away with a lot. While all of that is happening, they hear some shit in the woods and they're like, oh no, what is that? And she's trying to tell them, no, it's the thing I was trying to tell you about. And they're like, shush, just stay down while she's still tied up. They find out very quickly that it is not just some regular animal or lion. It's something they've never faced before. And I do like how they directed this because when the Predator is aiming his laser beam cannon thing at this guy, the guy who sees the lights on his body, it never occurs to him to look up out into the distance to see who's aiming at him. He just sees it, oh, what are these light things? Because he doesn't have any concept of what that technology is, which is very realistic, and I'm glad they did it that way. These men are warriors, and honestly, they are so brave. They're stupid, but they're really brave. They're not going to run away from a fight. So it makes sense why they would stay and fight this thing, and they all died very valiantly. It's also the first time when we get a good look at the Predator, and it looks very different than anything we've seen so far. Naru runs out into the field, and she makes it, but another one of the guys tells her to be quiet. He freaking dies. There's a scene that's in the trailer where her brother or whoever's like, protect me from what? And that's not in this movie. I don't know why. It just isn't. The guy who she's with says we have him, but realizes quickly that we don't. She knows what the laser does now. She knows it blasts heads open. And she's like, yeah, I'm gonna go. I at first thought that was her brother for some reason, but I'm like, okay, he falls behind and gets killed. And you say nothing whatsoever. You don't care. The part where they're in the grass and they're running and the thing is running after them. You see how fast it's running? Bro. Oh my god, that was so well done. And that poor guy. Like, none of these guys that died, did I ever was like, yeah, you're supposed to feel liberated because they were making fun of the main character. I don't feel that way. I feel that's kind of messed up. I felt really bad that they died. As Naru is running, she ends up in one of those traps that she saw before that the European set, and the Predator is right in front of her, and he holds on to the trap and looks at it and doesn't even care about her. She's trapped. So I guess because she's prey, it no longer sees her as a threat. But then these French people come up with their guns and whatnot, and they're like, look at this. Qu'est-ce que c'est? Like, this is some kind of female. I can't understand a lot of French. I only understand like very little parts of it. And for some reason, you know, you can't understand what they're saying, even though Comanche is switched into English. You can't understand the French people because it's being told from the Native Americans' perspective. She gets trapped anyway, and so does Natty. These French voyagers were the ones responsible for wasting the bison and wearing their skin. Anyway, I realized around this time, looking at the design of their guns, it had just hit me around this time in the movie, like, oh, this is the time period that the gun was in, that we saw one of the Predators give Danny Glover at the end of Predator 2. And the guy, Raphael Adolini, he translates, so we are hearing English, but he's actually speaking Comanche, and it was his gun. He questions her about the creature. The French people have him as captive, and they're basically telling him to ask her what she knows about it. She refuses to talk, and they take out her brother and cut him. They're like, all right, since you won't listen, we're gonna set you up as bait for the Predator, which is stupid because these guys already explained that they understand that the creature is a hunter that looks for dangerous beasts. Why would you set up bait? It's not gonna go for that. You've made them prey. What you should do is give them a bunch of weapons and have them try to get out of there. But they're so dumb. They're the ones who are armed. Maybe they just have some misunderstanding as to what that means. The creature goes right by them and kills all of those dudes. Naru uses her smarts and gets out of their trap, but Naru goes back to save her dog, which I would have done. And then she single-handedly kicks these guys' asses. You could tell she's way lighter than them, but they can't fight whatsoever, and she's used to fighting, I guess. I'm going to assume that her brother, being the warrior that he is, taught her how to fight, because that would make sense. The Predator heals himself, as Naru is also healing herself at the French's camp. Raphael sees her at the camp, and is like, dude, you have medicine? He teaches her to use the gun in return for her healing him. Man, the flintlock pistol is really, really hard to use. Thank goodness for our revolvers and pistols today, because good grief, I don't think I would have had the patience. Naru gives him the herbs that she gave the guy who was attacked by the mountain lion before, and earlier, that guy that they pulled on the gurney, she gave him these herbs that made his body really, really cold. And it kind of slows down the bleeding when the body's cold like that. And Naru had said, do you want him comfortable or alive? And I didn't even realize at that time that this was going to be foreshadowing for using these herbs later to hide body temperature. She doesn't know that this is the case, but he's like, don't leave me, as they hear the Predator coming towards them. And then this guy, I love him. He hears a Predator coming and he's like, I'm not gonna make it to the tent. Oh shit. So then he's like, you know what? Play dead. It's the way he does it. He's like, oh, I can't even run, so just pretend I'm dead. Predator's not stupid. He's like, I could tell the gears are turning in the Predator's face. He's like, okay, let me get this straight. So this guy, there's blood. There's warm blood here. And now there is a dead body or just nothing. It's like, there's no life signs there. There's nothing there. I can't see it. Just whatever. Maybe he can't see the body. Like from our visual perspective through his goggles or whatever you want to call them. Does he not recognize that the body is dead, but it's a body? Or does he like have the inability to actually see that it's a body? Anyways, Naru realizes that the Predator not doing anything means he can't see the body. Well, because he can't see, he ends up stepping on the guy's leg, and of course that emits a reaction. He cries out because, you know, when your leg's freaking broken by a 600-pound creature, you're gonna cry. And so Predator kills him, and then the dog comes up, and I'm like, no! But thank goodness the brother Tabe comes in time, and the dog is saved. Like, narrowly missed. That would have broken my freaking heart, bro. Oh my god, I would never watch Predator again. The brother fights very valiantly, and he is a badass. Predator was not ready for him. Then it goes invisible, coward ass. I mean, aren't these things all about honor and leveling the playing field? This thing has technology that is way more advanced than that of these humans. They're literally firing sticks at you. They're smart, and you see them as worthy opponents. But you want to fight them, so you go invisible, really? I've seen other Predators take off their armor or put down their weapons so they can level the playing field with whatever it is they're hunting. Yet, it decided to kill a lone coyote wolf thing that was clearly not a threat to it at all. There was no competition there. It decides to go invisible and kill this guy. It's losing the battle, so it's like, oh, let me make it so you can't see me so I have an advantage over you. Like, what is even the point? I don't even understand. It's so inconsistent with this honor thing. This part's sad, and we know Tabi's gonna die, and he's like, this is where my journey ends. Bring it home, and he tells her that thing he tells her to encourage her, and he tries to kill the Predator, but you cannot use an arrow, a long-range weapon, at close range and turn it around quickly to fire it in someone's face. That's not gonna work. Stupid-ass Predator, you freaking cheater. The Predator, I guess, didn't see her as a threat enough, and she ends up running away or vanishing like a spirit, I guess too fast, so the Predator couldn't see her run away. It's very sad though. Tabe's dead, the mother's sad. Later, Sari and Naru see that French guy who skinned the bisons, and I thought he was a chimpanzee. Like, the way he was acting, I really thought it was like another ape or something. No, it's a human. And she's like, you know what? You're the one who cut my brother. I'm not gonna kill you. I'm not gonna kill you with the gun. I'm not gonna give you that courtesy. So she knocks him out and cuts off his leg. She says, you cut my brother, so it is what it is. I'm not a threat, right? And that's why I'm dangerous, because you can't see me coming. I am a hunter like you. You can't see that I'm killing you. And I guess she ate the herbs, so that lowers her body temperature. At first, I thought when the Predator came onto the scene, he saw her, but she wasn't a threat, so it stepped aside. But I think he actually just couldn't see her. And she gave the guy a gun that wasn't loaded. If the gun wasn't loaded and the Predator was aware of that, why did he still kill the guy who had one freaking leg with an unloaded weapon? Can the Predator not tell? It was badass though when she stepped aside after she heard the Predator, because I guess he couldn't see her. She uses this opportunity when she uses the guy as bait to shoot the Predator in the back of the head. Conveniently, it starts snowing, and she has those herbs in her body, so she is basically invisible to the Predator. She ends up putting up a worthy fight, and I love the way that she and Sari work together. It kind of reminds me of Spear and Fang from Primal. She lures the Predator to that mud pit that she had fallen into earlier. She uses her smarts and an overabundance of plot armor to beat the Predator, tricking him into falling into the pit. But he rises out slowly, because of course he did. We all expected that to happen. But what he didn't account for was how smart she was. She had set up his helmet to fire into his head. And I guess the Predator doesn't have the concept of smarts to duck when he sees his Predator, when he sees his helmet aiming towards him. I just don't understand, but whatever. Because my first thing, I see a gun point toward me, like, oh shit, and I would duck, but it doesn't, because it's stupid. She carries back its head, and everyone's happy, and they're like, oh no, you're a hunter. And she's like, yes, I'm a hunter. And that's where we see the close-up of the gun that was given to Danny Glover in Predator 2. This was the whole backstory for it. How the Predators ended up having it, I don't know. That's a story for another day. But she gets the respect that she's wearing the blood of the Yautja on her face. What kind of Yautja that is, I have no idea, because it's definitely not the kinds that we see in the first two movies. And then we see like a close-up or a little shot of her looking at this other little girl, and the little girl is staring at her like in adoration. And I know what that means. I know that little girl staring at her that way is basically the movie and the character saying, see, I'm a girl and I'm a hunter and I was able to kill the alien when the men couldn't. So you can too. And that's basically it. It was like an inspiration thing. This movie was decent. It was very decent. I think that it is right. The first movie obviously was the best. I think it's in line on par with Predators, even though I will say I enjoyed Predators better because of the overall feel of it. It was just, this one was directed well, but there were a few janky shots in the movie, like the part where she was in the camp, the French camp, and she was fighting those guys. I feel like you couldn't see everything that she was doing. Like when she was throwing the axe, there were times where she picked up the axe or you didn't see her pick up the axe, and then suddenly the axe is in someone. It just, that fight scene wasn't shot very well. I think that the choreography was fine. It's just that they could have done better with the shots with her picking up the axe and feeling like the hits were actually landing. I feel like they kind of OP'd her in that scene. Like we haven't seen her fight. Like we saw her fight her people, but she wasn't trying to kill them. So maybe it was different. I just feel like they kind of like overpowered her, but nerfed everybody else. Anyway, it was still interesting to see how she set up everything. I was expecting it to be more elaborate because she's way smaller than all the other people in her village. So I was expecting to have more of like an elaborate plan and some of the booby traps that we saw. That would have been great, like a Home Alone situation in the forest. But it was, the setup was kind of underwhelming, and I think the reason why it felt underwhelming for me is because she wasn't exactly a very likable character. Like, we were seeing things through her eyes, her perspective. I feel like the brother was more of a likable character, and honestly, I think the story would have been better told from his eyes, because I liked him. I was rooting for him more than I was rooting for the girl, to be honest. Something happening to her, I didn't really feel anything for her. I felt something when everything happened to everybody else. Even the other guys of the village, the brother's friends, I felt something when they died. I felt something when the brother died. Didn't feel anything when she was in trouble. I wasn't like, oh no. I also think it's because the character was just a little bit full of herself. I get where she was coming from because it must have been frustrating for people to not take her seriously, but you gotta understand, like, it's not like people are being mean to you. You were the only woman in the entire village who's like, I don't want to do the work that was assigned to me. I want to do the work that was assigned to you. You know, and the thing is, like, when her brother, I think the part that made me not really connect with the character is when her brother came home. He brought her home, saved her, brought home the lion, brought home all those other people, and you could see the way he was smiling. It wasn't about pride. He wasn't puffing out his chest and be like, yes, me strong. Like, that was not his whole MO. You could see his face. He's very humble, even though he's a good warrior. And when people were praising him, he even called his sister over, and the whole time she wasn't cheering. I get it, she was worried about what was out there, but the way she was looking at him, she did not look like she was worried about the predator. She looked like she was upset because her brother was getting the praise and she's not the one who brought home the lion. Like a little sour puss face. And that made her very unlikable in my opinion. And then at the end, she comes and she's like, yes, I did it. Me, strong. Like, she had that whole expression. It was very cringe. Not even Arnold had that expression in the movie. When he was done everything, he sat down as the ashes were falling and he looked sad. At the end, in the helicopter ride, he looked sad. He wasn't there like, oh, look at me, guys. I killed the predator. He was sad because he just lost all of his friends. He lost all of his friends and dealt with a really horrible situation. He felt more human than this girl felt in this movie. All of that being said, those were the issues I had with it. Love the dog. Dog's got a great face. And it's a dog. What are you gonna do? You know? It's perfect. And I like the concept. I like the setting of it. I like the way it was shot cinematically. It was very beautiful. I like the way the predator felt, and I like the design of the predator's helmet. Didn't like it when it took it off, but it did look pretty badass. So yeah, if you're asking if you should watch this movie, definitely. I do think it's a good Predator movie. It does a great job with that thriller feel, even though it's kind of inconsistent at times. Thanks so much for watching. This has been Ultiori. You ask, we answer.